Hey, Dan, I'm on stream right now.
All good. You want me to hit you after?
Um, yeah, I can call you after, and if you don't, that's fine.
Well, I mean, what do you mean? Are you
No, I'm not that
trying to talk
busy.
or
It's like winding down the stream, and supposed to stream with Ye in a bit, but I think he's asleep.
what the fuck's that dude been up to? He's puts out this fucking banger. Everybody loves it. I haven't heard a word from him.
Yeah, I know. It's like he's a perfectionist. You know, he's really particular about every. I have so much stuff that I want to put out, but he's very specific about everything. But you gotta let him do his process that way.
It's funny, man. Joe Rogan was talking about it the other day, saying that basically like, their censorship of his music has kind of proved his point. I was shocked because he's almost a total pussy when it comes to this stuff.
I want to see that podcast so bad. Yeah, I didn't expect him to, because he completely gets it. But you know, it's funny that Ye's music is banned on the same streaming platform, Spotify, that Joe has a contract on.
Well, I mean, he said that it's basically proving what Ye's saying is correct. That you can criticize Rogan. I mean, he could have fucking done Hail Satan. He could have talked about fucking children. He could say whatever he wants. But the moment you say anything about Jews, and boom, it's fucking all of a sudden super censored. It's like crazy. Like look at Michael Jackson's song. Jew me, sue me. They cut out the fucking Jew. You can say any kind of racial slur. You can talk about Satan worshiping, killing kids, selling drugs. Fine, say Jew, and we gotta censor it. It's like so insane.
It seems like hate speech only applies to one group, because you could talk about killing as many black people as you possibly want, and that's not incitement of violence. But you talk about Hitler, and immediately you get taken down. And the funny thing too, do you see?
How do you censor Jew though? The word Jew, that's not even a fucking swear word. Like,
It's just the name of the person. Yeah.
Yeah, they literally cut that. Have you seen that the lyrics to that song? They like
Yeah, I think also
out.
there's one word where he's like, try me, kike me, like, and that's
Kick me, kite me.
yeah, kick me,
Don't you
kike
black
me,
or
yeah,
white me? Yeah.
yeah,
They cut that out too. I mean, but that's at least a racial slur. The fact that they took out Jew is insane.
yeah.
Like that's insanity.
It's almost like
But it
admittance
shows.
that it's like, even insinuating that that's a slur doesn't that admit something, or doesn't that seem bad? Like, if you think that word is a slur, like, what do you really think about your, like,
But that's the thing is they allow slurs, they allow swear words, they just have it under explicit music. But the fact that they would completely remove that from the lyrics, and also just even from the words. They like put the words. Apple Music completely took it off the words as well. Jew, they took Jew out. Like, how fucking crazy is that?
Yeah, but what's cool is that he's exposing the hypocrisy with this song getting banned, and even his album was leaked today. Someone on the inside leaked the album. Someone here, actually. I'm still here in Spain, and they said that they're going to donate all the stream money to a Holocaust museum.
Yeah. Which Holocaust? The fake one, or like one of the real ones? Like the Armenian Holocaust, the Pacific Holocaust, one of the real ones? Or are you talking about the fucking bullshit one?
Well, I mean, it's also like, what do they need money for? What do you need if you're going to donate money to a Holocaust museum? What is that money?
Do you know how many hundreds of billions have been paid out in Holocaust reparations? Like, it's insane.
I don't get, what are they going to buy more train tracks, or what's?
I mean, maybe they're gonna build another, fake fucking camp that they can talk about how many atrocities happened there. So crazy, man. So
Yeah, but
crazy.
I'm trying to get what's your perspective from the outside looking at all this stuff?
What stuff?
What Ye's doing right now. I don't know if you know. I've been here in Spain working with him for the past 3 weeks, almost a month now.
Yeah, that's what I was calling to chat with you about. We can, talk about that off. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's weird, man. Like, I flip-flop on him all the time. I initially wanted to go chat with him a while back, and at the time I didn't really, understand this whole fucking thing. And he makes some great points, but then he goes off on, these crazy tirades, and then he apologizes, and then he, comes fucking 10 times stronger. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's so hard to keep up with what's going on in his head, and I wish that he was a little bit more, congruent with the message. But I think one of the things that he's doing is he's just showing that he can post porn, he can post this, he can post that, he can do all sorts of things,
Yeah.
You know, but then like the one thing that actually gets true censorship is anything Jew related. You know, and so I think that's becoming very clear. You know, they're just, I mean, they're totalitarian fucking control over, you know, free speech, I think, is going to be their undoing. That's the first thing the Bolsheviks did before they genocided all those Christians, is they made it illegal to criticize Jews.
When do you think people are going to start caring? Because right now a lot of people are just criticizing Ye, and but when is there like is the mass awakening already happening? When do people start to really understand what Ye's saying?
Well, the problem is that, you know, he's so all over the place, you know, and another thing too is like, he was one of the pioneers talking out about this stuff, you know, and I wish that he would focus a little bit more on the facts of it, like how much of, you know, black music is controlled by the Jewish community, how much those managers basically fucking rob those musicians, how many, you know, black athletes, you know what I mean? If he makes it to where it's like, this is why I'm mad, as opposed to just like assuming that people understand all the shit that's been going on, the fact that like, you know, the slave trade was predominantly fucking Jewish owned, like he has a lot of information that he's not putting out there, so he'll just say things, but he won't give the average person the reasoning behind it. And I think that's the one thing that I would recommend he tweak with his message, is like talk about why you believe this instead of just saying stuff. And I think, you know, because he's like such a hyper famous guy, and he's, you know, probably just, you know, doesn't have time for shit or whatever, but it's like, I think he would make a stronger difference if he explained a little bit more thoroughly why he came to these conclusions and what they're based on.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it's like his strong suit is an artist. Like he's an expert at so many things, like architecture, fashion, design, performance, all this stuff. But like really, it comes down. He's the greatest artist alive, I think. And maybe like
100%. And I'm not trying to armchair quarterback this.
No, it's valid criticism. It's valid, but where I think is, you know, I was here the whole time. I was here on the A24, and he really opened up the door for this conversation to happen. I think that's where like guys like you step up and start to, like, your Piers Morgan appearance was great. I don't know if you saw ours, but like part of my strategy going into that one was based off of yours. So now that the Overton window's been kicked open, it allows voices like yours, like Jake Shields, Myron, to step in, Nick, obviously, to step in and really give the facts like that, because that's not Ye's strong suit, obviously.
Yeah, no, I thought your interview was great. I watched the whole thing. You were and that's why I texted you afterwards. And I didn't see your call. I told you that already. My ringer's off, so if you want to...
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, I think I was calling you to try to like prep, but it sounded like I didn't really need it.
No, I think you did great. I mean, Thanks. The nice thing is, like, you were completely unapologetic. You were, you know, stoic. You were unemotional. You just kind of like stuck with facts. You didn't fall into like his game where, you know what I mean? Like he tries to like take people down roads and and then he goes with the, you know, his typical fucking, you know, name calling and whatever. And he didn't fall for any of that, which I think is good. And then he tried to get you to like basically speak on Ye's behalf, and you didn't do that. You didn't fall for that trap. So yeah, no, I think it was good. I think he's getting fucking schooled so often. He's just like getting used to getting clowned. I mean, I ratio him every time I fucking reply to his tweets, and he just actually blocked me yesterday.
Come on. Piers Morgan uncensored, but he's censoring like one of his biggest guests. Like, I mean, he came around about Gaza, and now he's criticizing Israel Netanyahu finally. I wonder what that's about.
Yeah, because like his fucking audience is turning on him. That's what I said. It's like, you know, he's had all the information. Like he's had enough guests on that have presented him the information that, you know, all the beheaded baby stuff was all bullshit. The mass rape stuff was bullshit. Like, he's had enough guests go on there, talk about the Hannibal Directive, talk about how Israel killed most of the fucking people that died on October 7th, talk about how, you know, half of them weren't even fucking civilians. They were military combatants, so they don't really fucking count in the number. So let's chop the 1,200 number down to 600. And of those 600, the Hannibal Directive, they probably killed at least fucking half of them. So what are we talking about? 300 people? Like, they killed way more Palestinians than that year alone. You know what I mean? So, like, he keeps harping on this, like, you know, 1,200 number. It's like, no, like, you have to talk about the civilians. And then how many civilians has fucking Israel killed, you know? You have to separate military combatants and civilians because they're different, right? And it's almost like Israel's targeting civilians now and, you know, blowing up churches, mosques. I mean, all the things that, like, if any Muslim did would be considered a terrorist act is totally fucking fine with Israel. And it's like we're still falling for this retaliation narrative a year and a half later. Fucking, like, hundreds of thousands of fucking innocent civilians killed. Like, it's absurd. Their whole fucking country's leveled to the ground. Like, they're stealing land of the West Bank that has absolutely nothing to do with Hamas or, you know, any of that. Yeah, I just, whatever, man. You know, I could go on and on. But
no, I mean, I appreciate you explaining this stuff, like, because we need people to hear it. Like, Trump last week, he started saying, like, what's happening. He admitted that what happening in Gaza is terrible, pretended like he was going to, you know, go against Netanyahu, and then they're continuing today. I mean, I'm seeing more videos of them preparing for another invasion. Enough time has passed since October 7th where it's like, I don't think people believe the 30 beheaded babies thing was so long ago, it doesn't hit anymore. And that's why guys like Piers have shifted their narrative.
It was bullshit. But the 30 beheaded babies was complete bullshit. Yeah. There was only 2 babies that were fucking killed. 2 of them. One in a hospital and one got shot, you know, potentially by a fucking tank round. I mean, the tanks were fucking shelling the kibbutzes, you know, shooting their own fucking civilians. They have videos of Apache helicopters, their own Apache helicopters, shooting their own citizens with Hellfire missiles. The fucking cars are burned to the fucking ground. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen with an AK-47 or an RPG. Like, I've shot all those fucking weapons. Like, I have them. I was in the military. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen what weapons do. And the cars that are fucking, the frame is melted to the fucking cement. Like, that shit is from fucking Hellfire missiles. Like, you know, and tank rounds going to the things. I mean, and they don't deny it anymore. They've admitted it. So, you know, like so many of these things, it reminds me of the fucking Holocaust narratives. You know, the fucking people were made into lampshades. Total bullshit. They acknowledge that it's bullshit. People made into soap. Total bullshit. They acknowledge that it's bullshit. Oh, they did experiments on twins where they cut them in half and sewed them together. Recently fucking acknowledged that was complete bullshit. The fucking roller coaster event. You know what I mean? It's like, how many times a motherfucker gotta lie to you before you're like, okay, I've been lied to 100 times. I'm just not gonna believe anything this group of people fucking says, you know? And it's like, you look at, like, Israel, like, it was founded by terrorists. They literally blew up the King David Hotel. The people that blew up the King David Hotel, fucking designated terrorist organization, are the people that founded Israel. Like, so I just don't understand how people are fucking, like, ignoring all this historical evidence that these people are fucking complete piece of shit. I mean, how many false flag attacks do you have to commit before people are like, okay, this is a fucking scumbag country? Like, I don't think people really process what a false flag attack is. That is when you kill your own civilians or your allies' civilians to try and blame it on somebody else. Like, if that happens one time, it should be an act of war, and we should never be allies with them again. We've caught them on fucking numerous occasions doing that. The Levant affair, USS Liberty, you know, like...
We went into World War II.
9/11.
We went into World War II. We went into World War II because of Pearl Harbor. USS Liberty happens, and then every politician, American politician, says they're our greatest ally.
I mean, dude, they literally committed war crimes. I mean, they're fucking shooting the decks, they're napalming it, they're shooting a life raft, which is a fucking absolute war crime, you know? Like, I don't know, man. And then they have the radio transmissions, like, they fucking knew it was a U.S. ship. Like, I was in the fucking Navy for 4 years, you know? Like, when your fucking Navy boat is flying, it has big U.S. flags flying. It says on the fucking bow of the ship, USS whatever. Like, there's no mistaking it, you know? And not only that, but they didn't just, like, fly over one time. They had multiple fucking, like, flyovers to identify the ship before they attacked it. So this whole mistaken identity thing is just absolute nonsense. They were fucking attacking the ship for an hour and a half. Helicopters, multiple planes, a fucking torpedo boat. Like, come on, bro. Like, a helicopter, like, you know, like, none of these people saw it. Like, bullshit. You don't accidentally just attack the wrong ship. Like, I don't think people understand. It's like, you know, in war, it's not just like some guy randomly flying a plane. It's like, oh, let me go shoot this fucking ship. No, you call in everything. You get authorization. They know what ships are in the area. Like, it's the whole thing, you know? Like,
yeah, it's tough to be able to. It'd be great. Maybe I'll ask EA when I get the chance. I don't know if you're able to talk on the phone or if you're near Spain, but it's like his experience with the industry and, you know, in Zionism, that stuff is like, it's very hip hop related. It's very like seeing, you know, how talk about how they froze his bank account or how.
But that's what I'm saying. I think that's where like the big value that he can deliver is like explaining it from an artist perspective of like, hey, these people have managed me. These people have managed my friends. Like, I've seen what this group has done to us. You know what I mean? Like, Malcolm X talked about that. They fucking killed Malcolm X. You know, like, you know, he talked a lot about how the fucking Jews persecuted blacks. So this is not a new thing, you know? And I think if he came at it from that perspective, as opposed to like some of the things that he does, it's like so crazy, like the KKK thing. it's it's like kind of hard to like get behind that, right? Because like that doesn't even really make a lot of sense, right? It's almost like he's just doing it to get attention. But the Nazi thing, I get it. He's basically saying like, look, we got lied to about the World War II narrative. I don't like that. Michael Jackson was on the exact same fucking thing. Like, I mean, you look at what JFK said. He's like, this guy has the stuff legends were made of. Like, he's going to emerge from the hate, whatever. Like, there's been a lot of people that said this. Like, General Patton said, like, I fear we have, defeated the wrong enemy. And in, however many years, we're going to pay for this with degeneracy and whatever. And you know what I mean? Like, this has been predicted by a lot of different people, but kind of hard to get behind the whole KKK thing. You know what I mean? So I just feel like he's a bit scattered.
But also, I mean, it's a black guy. It's the richest black man in the world wearing a Ku Klux Klan hood. It's like, it's just, a lot of it is just funny. It's.
I get it. I'm just saying, I've been so pointed with like my Jewish supremacy issue because I think that's the crux of all the fucking problems. And I think when you distract from that, it a little bit distorts the message. And I really think, like, at the core, that's where his issue is. I mean, those are the people that have been attacking him. Those are the people that have tried to bankrupt him. Those are the people that tried to cancel him. Those are the people that originally were oppressing him and the music industry and whatever. So I think, like, let's just focus on the problem and not get sidetracked on a bunch of different other things. That's all I'm saying. And like I said, I'm not trying to tell this motherfucker what to say. He's been, like, a big net positive at a bare minimum, just moving the Overton window of what is socially acceptable. I mean, if you would have asked me if a fucking song called Hail Hitler would have been one of the fucking top, played things in 2025, I would have said you're probably crazy. But if anybody could do it, it's that fucking guy.
It's song of the summer. It's a hit song.
But I think it's just like that right there. I think it's so important for the conversation because of how much censorship that's received. Yet you can talk about, like I said, all these other things: devil worshiping, fucking killing people, raping, selling drugs. You can talk about anything you want, right? But like that one topic is off limits,
And it's funny, the topic isn't even off limits. You can say, like look at a Tarantino movie. There's Nazis in there. There's people doing Hitler salutes. Look at Django. There's like slave masters saying
that. But look at that Inglourious Basterds movie. Look at what the message was. That message
exactly
was like a complete dehumanization of anybody that was born in Germany in the 1930s or whatever, right? And so I think that's one of the issues that I have with this whole like Nazi thing, where it's like any Nazi is the scum of the earth and they should be killed, and we should celebrate burning them alive. It's like, hey, dumbass. Nazis are basically anybody that was born in Germany. There was like 80 million people in fucking Germany in 1939. So like to say 80 million people, try and paint them all with like one brush. I've seen like us do that when we went to the Iraq war, because I was in the military at the time, and it's like, we basically painted all the Arabs with this brush of like, oh, they're Hajis, they're sand niggers, they're this, they're that, And in doing so, they basically dehumanized an entire population. And then made it okay for us to kill 1 million civilians. And like I said, I was in the military, so I would see how those guys would talk about this stuff, and they killed civilians, like, and they would laugh about it, and they would, fucking like, it wasn't a big deal because it's a fucking Haji and it's a goat fucker, and it's like, no, motherfucker, this is a person, and you're in their fucking backyard, fucking their shit up for Jewish interests, But I think that's the problem with the dehumanization of a population, is that it allows you to do all sorts of fucked up shit. And I think that's what, they try to do with the Germans in, movies like Inglourious Basterds, is basically like vilify that entire country, like every person in there was bad. And it's just bullshit, like most people are gray area. Most people aren't all bad or all good. They're like, a little bit of both.
And that's why it's allowed. It's allowed because that even though it depicts Nazis, people say Heil Hitler in that movie because the Jews win in the end, because the Nazis are seen as the worst people ever. The movie's celebrated and it wins awards. But I mean,
it's total propaganda.
It's propaganda. It's propaganda. Very obviously, it's not even historically accurate. Like there were no Inglourious Basterds. That wasn't even a thing, right? It's just like porn for people who want to believe that narrative. But it's funny that like they allow that propaganda. So it's not really about artistic integrity, because if they were artistically, if they were going to be even across the playing field, then Ye's song would be allowed. It's like, oh,
no. Anything is allowed when you talk about like, let's kill the Nazis and let's dehumanize that population and vilify them and talk about how horrible they are. It's the moment you say anything positive that becomes completely eliminated. So
exactly.
You have one side of the argument which is okay, and then you basically like delete any discussion of the other side, so you have a one-sided discourse, and that's the fucking problem, and that's not free speech. And when you have that, then you basically have an echo chamber of fucking nonsense, and that's really the crux of the issue.
And it just, even the irony, like, why are you not? You could probably say, like, you could talk about Genghis Khan. You can make a song called How Genghis Khan, you won't be taken out. You can make a song called How Stalin. Look how many communists, like on Twitch, they glorify Stalin, communism, all this stuff. Stalin killed more people than Hitler, but you won't be deleted anywhere.
Killed fucking 60, 80 million. Yeah, there's been fucking huge, like, mass murders, and nobody, like, even bats an eye.
Mao still has statues all over China. They love him over there. And that's not taken down.
Buddy, there's been a lot of genocides. There's been a lot of people killed. Yet there's only one that's off limits. There's only one that's continuously fucking talked about. And there's only one that's used as a fucking crutch for, committing genocide, for doing anything really that Israel wants to fucking do. And the moment you criticize them, you're anti-Semitic, you're a fucking, what about the Holocaust? It's like this whole narrative of like the struggling Jew, the persecuted Jew. It's just bullshit. Just complete fucking bullshit. Like, prior to World War II, 30 to 60 million Christians were killed by an 84% Jewish Bolshevik-controlled fucking government. And, that was one of the things that Hitler was trying to fucking, prevent, was this communist fucking movement, this Bolshevik fucking movement, this attack on Christianity. I mean, do you know they killed, like, hundreds of thousands of fucking Christian priests? Like, fucking, they like, rounded them up. You should read Alexander Solzhenitsyn. He talks about this. He's got a couple books that are pretty good. I mean, this is like a fucking Nobel Prize winning author.
This is the Armenian genocide? They never teach you this in school.
This is the Russian Bolshevik, which is like all fucking Jewish. I just tweeted about this the other day. Like Lenin, all these people, they all changed their fucking names. They're all fucking Jewish. Marx, Karl Marx, I mean, the founder of fucking communism, Jewish, like almost every ism, feminism, communism, transgenderism, they're all fucking Jewish things. But anyways, the point is that there was a bunch of fucking Christians mass murdered right before World War II, yet nobody talks about it, and that's the fucking people we choose to side with, and then all we focus on is the 6 million Jews that were killed afterwards. But if Jews killed, 30 to 60 million Christians, and then Christians killed 6 million Jews, which they didn't, but let's just say they did, that's like a tenth, right? So that would be more of a retaliation than a fucking extermination, and so I think it's very important to provide context. Like, if I slap you in the face and then you fucking punch me and we focus on you punching me without the context of me slapping you in the face or kicking you in the nuts or, whatever, or killing your sister or whatever I did prior to that, then I think it's a bit, a misrepresentation of what happened. And so what they do is they want to isolate this one incident. They don't talk about Judea declaring war on Germany prior to World War II. You know what I mean? They don't talk about all the things that the Jews did, and and they don't talk about the perversion. They don't talk about how fucking completely destroyed the economy was in Germany, how mothers and daughters were prostituting each other, how they were doing transgender surgeries, how they were promoting fucking pornography, promoting homosexuality, pushing it on the children. Fucking kind of like sounds familiar to the shit they're doing today. But they don't talk about that stuff, and it's funny, today it's progressive, but it's not progressive. This shit happened literally 100 fucking years ago, exactly the same as they're doing now. So how fucking progressive is it? No, it's history repeating itself. So, but I think that a lot of people don't have all these facts. They don't have the actual fucking real history. They just have what they've been propagandized, and that's the problem. They don't have the full picture, so I'm trying to paint the fucking picture.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to try to explain all this to Ye. Like, obviously, he's very busy. He's got like a million things he's working on, and trying to get this guy, like, he's got a million things. It's the fashion, the show that's coming up, the music that's coming out. Obviously, there's people that want him dead and leaking his album. It's tough to try to explain the Bolshevik, like all this stuff or what that means is gonna take time. But
well, I mean, I get it, man. I just think some of this stuff is broad strokes, right? Like 30 to 60 million Christians were killed by Jews prior to World War II. That's pretty black and white. You can show the Holodomor, you can show the mass starvation, you can show the fucking gulags run by what the fuck was the guy's name? Henrik Yagoda. That's not his real name. It's a fucking Jewish name, but he changed it to that. But he was running the fucking gulags. He was running basically the Holocaust of Christians prior to World War II. And this stuff is not disputed. Like, they have the numbers. Some of the figures are a little bit, disputed. It could be 30 million, could be 60 million, whatever. But it's an insane number, right? And it's mostly all Christians. And they starved them, they murdered them, they did all this stuff. And like I said, I think one of the most fucked up things is like rounding up all the fucking Catholic priests. I mean, it was like an attack on religion as well, too. And so, basically one of the things that happened was they were rounding up the fucking Jews because the Jews had killed a ton of fucking Christians. And they took their farms, and they, like I said, they were murdering the priests, they were starving these people, and so people were fucking pissed off at them. And when basically, I think it was Poland or Ukraine, when, some of these people, like, got control of their country again, they were, like, rounding up the fucking Jews, the pogroms or whatever, and they reported back to Germany, and they said, hey, like, they want to kill these fucking Jews, they want their revenge, whatever, and Hitler said, don't interfere. It wasn't like, hey, let's go there and kill the Jews. They were doing that already as a retaliation for what the Jews have been doing to them for the past 10 years. And Hitler basically said, like, don't interfere, like, let them have their revenge. And so I think the picture that people have painted, another thing that they got is the radio transmissions from the German army was like, hey, in one of these camps, they're like, hey, we don't have enough food to feed these people. Would it be more humane to just kill them? Right? But that's not a conversation that you have. The goal of these camps was to fucking genocide the Jews, which it wasn't. But, like, that's not a conversation that you would have. Like, hey, would it be more humane to kill these people because we don't have enough food to fucking feed them? Because, they've been fucking bombing Germany and whatever and cutting out their supply line. So, a lot of this stuff, like, yeah, did people die? Of course they did. And did they die of starvation and typhus? Yes, they did. But, like, it wasn't a planned genocide. And so I think that's an important piece of this that, like, people just don't have. When the Red Cross came into Auschwitz, that's the determination they made, is that 271,000 Jews died, mostly from starvation and mostly from typhus, and that there was no evidence of, that this was a death camp.
Myron was telling me about the Havar Agreement earlier. It was the first time I read that, where it shows that Hitler allowed the passage of, I think, something like 60,000 Jews into Israel during World War II. So it's like, was Hitler making deals with the Zionists before the establishment of Israel? Have you read the Havar Agreement?
I mean, it goes back, originally to, Theodor Herzl. He was the founder of the whole Zionist movement, the whole, concept of Israel, him and Rothschilds. But it's just kind of funny that, this guy's the founder of Israel, the founder of the Zionist movement. The whole point of the Zionist movement is to, like, give the Jewish people a homeland that was promised to them by God. The only issue is that Theodor Herzl was a fucking atheist. He didn't believe in God. So how are you going to tell me that the fucking person that started this movement and the goal of the movement was to give Jewish people the fucking land that was promised to them by God, from a fucking God that doesn't believe in God? Like, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Whatever. But anyways, yeah, I mean, Hitler did. Yeah, he allowed, numerous Jews to go to Israel, give them safe passage, and he transferred like $1 trillion of wealth, allow them to keep their money and whatever. His goal was never to, exterminate all the Jews. Look, Germans are pretty fucking good at things, Like, if they wanted to kill 6 million unarmed Jews, they certainly fucking could have. Not to mention, there was only 500,000 Jews in all of Germany in 1939 anyways. So,
they are pretty good at engineering. They made good cars, good microphones. It seems like, that they would have a difficult time messing. I mean, but then why, like, if that narrative, and if the Havar Agreement is true, then it kind of destroys that. Like, why would he want all that exterminated and then also allow the Havar Agreement?
Dude,
I don't understand.
Bullshit. He's not going to be fucking letting, Jews deliver babies at Auschwitz if the goal is to kill the fucking Jews. Then let them have children. There was a lot of Jews that were born in Auschwitz. You know that?
Yeah.
It's like documented. It's not like I'm not making this up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if the goal was to, destroy the Jewish population, that wouldn't have been that fucking difficult, or at least the Jewish population that was there, but that was not the goal. Like, the point of these camps was that they were work camps, and they were to help the war effort. So, I mean, look, man, you've just been lied to. I mean, that's the long and the short of it. Like, we've just been given a completely false narrative, and it makes sense, It makes sense now. Like, you see, like, a lot of these Jewish people, they'll always tell you what happened to them, but they'll never tell you the why. They'll never give you the fucking, the backstory. It's like, oh, we got persecuted. We got thrown out of these countries. This happened to us. This happened to us. Poor us, victim. It's It's like, okay, you assholes poisoned wells. You killed some fucking kids. You know, like, you crucified a fucking child. You did this, you did that. It's like, that's why you got thrown out, you know, 1,030 times out of 109 fucking countries, which means that every country that threw you out had to let you back in 10 more fucking times, and then you had to give them a reason to kick you out. You know what I mean? Like,
wait, it was 1,030? I thought it was 109.
Yeah, they kicked out of 109 countries, but 1,030 times, which means that every fucking country had to kick them out and let them back in 10 fucking times over, on average. What? You gotta be a real asshole so you get fucking kicked out of every single country fucking 10 times each. Like, it's not 109 expulsions, it's 109 countries that expelled them 1,030 fucking times.
Wait, there's no way that's true, Dad.
Buddy, look it up. I can send you a fucking documented list of all the expulsions.
Please send me that. That's
it's 1,030. That's not even like that's not up for debate either. That's like a pretty like well-known statistic. The 109 was the number of countries, which I think it's 110 now. So I think they kicked them out of the fucking Maldives.
Yeah, Maldives too. I mean, they're not. It's technically not Israelis allowed in, but. 10 times
it should be 110, but strange state of affairs. But yeah, I mean, you know, the history. I mean, look what they told you about fucking Amsterdam. Oh, it was fucking pogroms. You know, the poor Jews are getting fucking beat up in Amsterdam. It's like, okay, motherfucker, you guys were chanting about killing fucking children and blowing up all their fucking schools. They were literally like chanting, oh, the kids don't have anywhere to go to school because we blew them all up or something, you know? And it's like, then they were causing fucking all these problems. A few of them got their ass beat. And, you know, and then they're like shrieking about how fucking Jews aren't safe anywhere and load them up in a plane and send them home or whatever. And then the real footage came out of like, you know, them chanting, talking shit and doing all this stuff and causing fucking problems, you know? And it's like, okay, here we go again. The Jews telling you what happened to them and not why. It's like the same story, bro. Like, how many times you gotta see the same fucking story to be like, okay, you know? Like,
yeah, I know. That's like
again.
It's like the best use of the invention of the cell phone camera because imagine if what was happening in Gaza and even that example in Amsterdam, that fake pogrom, like how many lies. It makes you think, like, if they can lie about what's happening in Gaza right now with 4K video on iPhones, what else has been lied about in history?
And why would you ever believe what they say? When you've caught somebody lying to you hundreds of times, why would the assumption just be that they're going to ever tell you the truth about anything? Like, it's like if you caught your girlfriend cheating on you 100, or you found out she cheated on you 100 times, would you be surprised if she cheated on you 101, or that, you know, she had lied to you about something else? It's like at some point, it's like, okay, like these motherfuckers have obviously like no allegiance to the truth, and it should be no surprise because, you know, in their Talmud, it says okay to lie to anybody that's not a fucking Jew. So, you know, when they have, you know, full authorization by God or whatever they consider to be God to just, you know, lie to everybody. But I think the deeper piece of this is just the supremacy aspect. Look, like when you think that you're better than other people, you're going to act differently. It's just no different than, you know, if you thought that cows are the same as humans, you wouldn't eat any fucking cheeseburgers, right? But, you know, when you eat a cheeseburger, you don't, you know, you're not like fucking, you know, mourning the cow because, you know, that's cattle and you don't view that as being the same as human. Well, they view Palestinians as cattle. So, you know, when you take that outlook, then you can justify doing basically whatever the fuck you want, you know, because what people do to cows is pretty inhumane. Not that I'm like a big fan of like, you know, being inhumane to animals, but I'm just saying like you don't take the same standard that you do with animals as you do with humans. So if they view anybody that's not Jewish as being an animal, well, shouldn't be a surprise when they don't feel bad about fucking killing kids and doing all this fucked up shit.
Well, I mean, like what Aiden would say to that is like, okay, well, you can't let the actions of a few bad apples taint an entire group of people.
A few bad apples, bro. Like fucking 70% of Israel's in favor of what they're doing, and it's like super well documented. They're like literally putting out fucking lawn chairs to watch bombs drop on innocent civilians. So don't tell me that they're not fucking complicit in this genocide. Not to mention they're stealing all this fucking land on the West Bank. They're persecuting the settlers, doing all sorts of fucked up shit. I mean, it's not a secret what's happening. So if they're not out there like protesting it or, you know, upset about it, or like Dave Smith where he's talking out about it, then I feel like they're complicit or they're supportive. And statistically, they're supportive. So, you know, even if they're not the ones out there killing the fucking babies, if they're voting for the guy that's fucking, ordering this to go on, and they're in support of the war, they think that, the majority of them feel like they're not using enough force, or they're using justified force.
Well, I talked to I talked to a rabbi recently, and he said that we're not supposed to read the Talmud; it's just for them. So it's like it doesn't matter what it says.
Yeah, I mean that was the convenient thing for a long time, is that people that weren't Jewish didn't speak Hebrew, so they couldn't understand the Talmud. But a little thing called fucking Google Translate came out, and now all of a sudden we realize like their fucked up thought process. I mean, it's like that whole proverb where the Jewish mother tells the son, like, go out and kill some Christians and then rest, and then go out and kill some more, and but don't tire yourself out, and the kid says, well, what if while I'm resting they come and kill me? And the mother says to him, well, why would they kill you? What have you done to them? And it's just funny because that would be a logical thought process. Like, if somebody, if I didn't view somebody as an enemy, I wouldn't expect them to do anything bad to me. And the thing is, like, for the most part, we're taught that, Jews and Christians are friends or whatever. And then when you start digging into their religion, you find out they really don't like Christians. And they spit on Christians. And they think that we're idol worshippers. And, they certainly don't like fucking Muslims. So, when they act like assholes, it probably shouldn't surprise you. It only surprises us because we're told the wrong fucking narrative our whole life.
There are a lot of Jews that say that Jews and Muslims are brothers. And then there's a group in Brooklyn. I've been thanked by a lot of Jews for being specific about what Israel's doing and not all Judaism. Because every time I go to
look, man, they're not all bad. Like, there's no group where, like, everybody's an asshole. It's just, like, they're just disproportionately assholes in that group. So, like, are there good Jews? Yeah, I'm sure there's a fucking ton of good Jews. Dave Smith, there's, like, a lot of them that are, like, speaking out, to your point, that are speaking out against this. But my point is that this is a very small fucking segment of the population that's causing a fucking massively disproportionate amount of problems. And so, like, I want to fucking address it. And every time you address it, they all fucking attack you. They bandwagon on top. Like, most of them have been fucking attacking me. If you say anything against Israel, like, most Jews will attack you. I mean, they fucking tried to blackmail me, tried to extort me. They kicked me off the fucking board of my company. Like, when people fucking criticize, Armenia, or they criticize fucking Azerbaijan, their bank accounts don't get fucking shut down. So, like, when they operate tribally, then it's kind of like it's hard not to put them in the same fucking category when they're all, like, mostly supportive of this shit. So, yeah, I mean, are there some fucking good Jews? Of course there are. But that doesn't change the fact that, do all Jews cause problems? No. But are most problems caused by Jews? Yes. So,
wait, you think most problems are caused by Jews?
Oh, no. Absolutely.
Oh my God. So what do you think the solution is? Because I would say most
they need to be taken out of fucking power. They have a disproportionate amount of power.
But how does that happen?
Well, because they control the fucking media, they control the fucking banking, they put out all this propaganda through Hollywood, they control the press, same thing they were doing in Weimar Germany. And so the problem is when you have power that goes unchecked, and you have power that also can't be criticized, and somehow this disproportionate amount of fucking Jews that are in massive positions of power have also fallen into a victim category somehow, then you've got a fucking problem, because you've got people that have a disproportionate amount of power operating with impunity, and they are above reproach. And that is a recipe for fucking disaster.
Well, okay, but if you're saying that they control the banks, the media, the government, then you can't really take down that. Like, how do you expect to change that power system if they control everything?
I mean, I don't expect to, change that power system. However, when the masses wake up to what the fuck is going on, it doesn't take long for, things to change. When you're a very small group that's working together and the masses are unaware of what's going on, they can basically, control you. And also the more that we are attacking each other, the harder it is for people to fucking unify against, the people that are oppressing them. And right now, we've got the blacks against the whites, we've got the Republicans against the fucking Democrats. It's just like, it's all this dissension in America, It's like, you've never been more divided. People have never been fucking more at each other's throats. And so, when you've got a situation like that, it's very hard for people to unify. They've also attacked, being white. So, whites can't stick together. They have, pitted the blacks against the whites. You've got a very, strange landscape where, who's going to basically stand up against this? Because everybody's kind of like sectioned off in their fucking groups, and meanwhile, they're controlling everything and they're trying to pass anti-Semitism laws. You can't even criticize them. Do you know they like tried to pass something that said if you boycotted Israel in Texas, you go to jail for like 20 years?
Yeah, I see. Trump is deporting students who are on visas that are saying Free Palestine.
No, that's fucked up. But they were like literally trying to pass something that if you boycotted an Israeli business, that you could be punished for up to 20 years in prison. They literally tried to pass that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, but I think most people at this point, the mass awakening, it's been 3 years since the A24. I think most people know that there's a disproportionate amount of Jews in power. Like, people know that. Like, that's not even, that used to be anti-Semitic, and now everyone's like, yeah, I mean, this is obviously true. Like, compared to how many exist in America or across the world, like, the amount of people in positions of power, it's not proportionate compared to any other ethnic group. Now,
I mean, dude, it's like 3,500% overrepresented in many categories. Like, it's insane. They're like,
but it's probably not changing. Like it's probably we could make like how do you expect that to change?
I don't know, man. I think people are tired of this shit. Like, I'm tired of every time I fucking turn on Netflix, it's gay shit. It's fucking overrepresentation of fucking minorities. It's every white guy in every relationship is a fucking bitch, and his girlfriend or his wife is fucking calling the shots. And, it's like every white male is emasculated. Like, dude, I'm just tired of this shit. I think people are tired of this shit. Like, movies are just trash now. I used to be fucking, like, into movies, I can't even watch them anymore.
They really do suck. Movies are really bad now.
But it's also so glaringly obvious. It's kind of like when you see it, you can't unsee it. And so it just takes you out of the movie. It's kind of like they used to have these movies. They used to have, like, a serious group of people that would... It was called continuity. So, like, if it was like a 1940s theme, they would make sure that there wasn't any cars that were made after the 1940s in the movie, and it's the whole thing, right? And so usually, like, they do it with the action scenes where a revolver won't shoot more than 6 times, because anybody that knows guns, if the guy has a revolver and he shoots fucking 20 times, like, okay, that's fake. And then it takes you out of the movie. Well, the same thing happens when you've got a fucking black king in the fucking 1900s or the fucking 1800s in Europe. It's like, no, that wasn't happening, A woman wasn't ruling a fucking kingdom. So they have all this, like, all this bullshit.
Yeah.
They say it's woke, but it's Jewish because that's where it comes from. All this Jewish bullshit interlaced into the fucking movies, and it just ruins it. It takes you out of it because now it's not realistic.
I was watching...
A problem the right has is they associate all this stuff with being woke, but it's not. It's Jewish. They're the ones that started the transgender shit. They're the ones that fucking pushed that shit in Germany. They're pushing it again. You look at where this narrative comes from. It comes from the media. It comes from Hollywood. So, yeah, like, the left picks it up, but it's being spoon-fed to them by the fucking Jews. So, we have to look at, like, the core of this, and it makes it very easy for the right to be like, oh, these leftists, these woke idiots, they're just morons and this and that. And, like, yeah, they are fucking morons, but they're sheep, and they're following the fucking, the person leading the herd, and the person leading the herd is a fucking Jew.
It isn't. I know what you mean by the movies thing. It's getting, like, so annoying seeing the propaganda from, like, the Zionist propaganda. I watched The Brutalist, and it was, like, a really good movie. And then you realize, like, halfway through, like, oh, this is Israeli propaganda. They're trying to justify the homeland thing. Or I watched a movie last night. This girl wanted me to watch a movie called Blink Twice. And it's just like a female Get Out. And you're like, oh, come on. Like, it's just, all the women are able to go and fight back their male rapists, and they're beating them in hand-to-hand combat. It's like, no, they're not. Like, they're not. In no situation are 5 women going to be able to take on, Channing Tatum and hit 4 of his friends. That's never happening, right? I didn't have this problem when I was younger.
It's just programming. Like, and once you see through it, you can't watch it, because it's like, when somebody's trying to, like, indoctrinate you with bullshit, it's like, when a fucking traveling salesman shows up at your fucking door and gives you a whole spiel, it's like you tune out because he's full of shit, right? Well, it's like, that's how I feel with these movies. Like, okay, I know what you're trying to push. I'm not buying it, so fuck off, you know, and then turn off the fucking movie, you know, like, dude, they even made, like, Wolverine and Deadpool gay. It's like, gee, dude, like, it just never stops, you know, it's like, and then you wonder why men under 30 aren't having sex anymore, you know, it's like...
And then, you know, the worst part is, like, there's been so much porn shoved on us, all the movies are gay, everything is, like, making us emasculated, and then they go and call everyone incels for being the product of the society that they created, like... How do you expect men to get laid when all the women suck, they're all masculine, everyone's addicted to porn, people are lower testosterone because of the food, and then you point at them and say, you're an incel. And then they make a Netflix show about, you know, like there's a big immigration issue in the UK right now, and then they blame it all on Andrew Tate. Like, did you see that show, Adolescence, where there's a kid that stabs a girl in school, a 12-year-old boy, and it's a white kid, and he ends up watching Andrew Tate. He's like a red pill addicted teenager, and you look at the real story that it's based off of it. It's like, oh no, this is an immigrant from Nigeria or Ghana. It's not a white kid that's stabbing.
Yeah, no, they always make the bad guy a fucking white person. You know, it's just like, or a Muslim. You know, they're always Muslim, or you know what I mean. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just like I said, it's indoctrination, and once you see it, you're just kind of. You know, you don't want to fucking tune into it anymore. I mean, dude, and I hate to, like, draw the parallels because Hitler's, like, such a polarizing figure, but, like, that's literally what he was saying is, like...
But at the same time, he allowed the passage of 60,000 Jews into Israel. Like, he was complicit in the establishment of the State of Israel. So...
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if he was a fucking bad guy or not. I wasn't fucking alive back then, right? But I just think, like, the narrative that we've been taught is definitely fucking bullshit. So
yeah, and that hypocrisy, Ye's done a stupendous job at pointing out the double standard and saying Heil Hitler or glorifying any other genocidal world leader or Satan or murder or the other stuff. It's good that the conversation is shifting, and yeah, man, you've been definitely pivotal at moving that conversation forward, and also making like other celebrities okay with talking about it. I think like even you're right to call out, to not call out, but say Joe Rogan, you know, noticing what's going on with the Heil Hitler song 5 years ago he would have never acknowledged that. And I think people like you are like, okay, if I'm a major celebrity, I can risk things, and it's cool that even like you lost your position at your company. It doesn't seem like you care about the money like that. It's more important to say what you think is true. And we need more people doing that, you know, not caring about
I mean, you have to
things.
fully kiss all that shit goodbye, and you have to just be like, look, I'm going to say what I believe, and I don't give a fuck about any of this stuff, or else you're just going to constantly backslide, you know? Like Candace Owens, look, she's super sharp or whatever, but I think that she's too monetarily motivated to be, like, pure down the trail of what she believes. Like, you can't care about money and take this position because there's just like too much temptation, you know? It's just like there's always, you know, oh, well, you know, you can't say this, or you should probably do this, or you should, you know, be careful about, you know, it's just like you just have to just say fuck all that and just say what you want to say if you want to be honest and you want to be like, you know, pure with this whole thing. And that's just difficult. Like most people can't do that, you know? So I just think that the only way to, you know, get this out there and fucking be honest about it is just to like just cut ties with all that shit, because otherwise it's going to control you in one way or the other, you know? Like there's always going to be in the back of your mind like, oh man, if I say this then this, you know? It's just like,
yeah, it's going to be lingering there. But at the same time, we're in similar spots when it comes to this, you know, this conversation, and I get bitter thinking about it sometimes. Like I see what other people get away with. And once you see the double standards that other people have and people's cowardice, don't you get not all the time, but do you get bitter about stuff like that?
When you say what do you mean?
Like when I see the stuff that other people get away with, you know, because I've been banned everywhere, and I'm like, okay, well, this person said the exact same thing, but about a different group, and he's allowed everywhere. Or like this person... yeah, that basically, like what they censor other people for, how I lost everything for doing things that now people are allowed to say, stuff like that leaves a bitter taste in my tongue if I think about it too much.
Well, I mean, to me, you know, it's just the censorship in general, right? And you know, Bill Maher can get on there and talk about how Islam is the motherlode of bad ideas, and literally like say things that if it were to be flipped around, if somebody were to say about Jews or their belief system, it would be
He'd be gone.
anti-Semitic, canceled, bank accounts done. You know, and that's really the issue. The issue is that you can, you know, you can criticize, you can say whatever you want, except for against Jews, and that's kind of the whole famous quote of, like, you want to know who controls you, look who you can't criticize, and it's true of every country. You know, it's just like, you know, in Russia, you can't criticize fucking Putin, right? You know what I mean? Like in Mao, you couldn't, Mao's China, you couldn't criticize Mao. Like, you know, the people that are the totalitarian dictators, the people that have absolute power, you just can't criticize them. Bolsheviks, you know, you couldn't criticize Jews, you know, so it's like, that should tell you everything that you need to know. Like the fact that Kanye's song is banned off of all streaming platforms, you know, should tell you. You know, Nick Fuentes banned on all streaming platforms. You know what I mean? It's just like, until recently, I think they let him back on something. But, you know, the people that are getting banned are not the people that are super against Muslims or super against fucking gays or, you know, whatever. It's just like this one segment of people that are talking out about Jewish supremacy.
I guess the thing that like makes me bitter is when I'm banned everywhere and people are like, they don't say it's because, oh, you criticize Israel. They say it's like, oh, like he says crazy things. That's what other creators say. Like they don't. I think the part that is makes me bitter sometimes is like, I think a lot of people do know. We're talking about there's a mass awakening, but there's been such a strong financial control that people are just prioritizing their livelihood around, like they don't, even though a lot of people know they can't really afford to care because they need to go to school, they need to get a job, they don't want to get banned the way I got banned. So it's like, why even care if they see it, you know, if they can't change it or it's not going to benefit them financially?
Well, I mean, I think that's why PvD had such a hard time against me, is because I think he knew that I was right. So he was internally conflicted as to, you know, like what he could say and what he wanted to say. And I think that's a tough spot. But that all comes back to, you know, if you really care about money, then you're not going to be able to be honest on the subject because it's just too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they just punish you. I mean, fuck, man. I had it was like a $700-800 million exit for my company that I fucking screwed up because of this, you know?
God, that's
half of that, so.
Holy shit, that's a lot of money. $1 billion, that might be the biggest sacrifice. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, whatever, man. You know, at the end of the day, you know, they say, for what shall it profit a man to gain the whole world if it costs him his soul?
Who said that?
That's some Christian literature right there. That's in the Bible.
Oh, we have a similar one in Islam. There's a hadith that says, whatever you give up for the sake of God, God will reward you with something greater.
Yeah, I've yet to see that, but I hope you're right.
Well, even if it's not in material things, like it could be in other ways. Like it could be your courage. It could be your, you know, in heaven. There's a different ways to interpret that. You know, it's not only in my interpretation that it's not only measurement off of material things.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, from a guy that's had fucking pretty much everything he's ever wanted materially and hedonistically and, you know, with pussy and everything else, I think eventually you get to a point where you just, you know, you care more about just, I don't know, having self-respect, you know, knowing that you're kind of like you're doing the right thing or walking the right path, I think is more valuable than knowing that you fucked on shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think like there's a part of me that I had to do all that shit to, you know, to kind of get it out of my system, but I'm in a lucky spot where I don't have to wonder because I've just done everything I wanted to do. So
yeah, I think most men, if they don't fuck a lot of chicks, they're going to be wondering why the rest of their life. But at the same time, I saw this. I don't know if you know Steve Will Do It, but he's like a gambling streamer, extremely rich.
Yeah.
And he tweeted today. He's like, I have 8 cars, 12 houses, I have an airplane, and I'm still extremely unhappy. And that's just points it out there. You know, he follows that. It's funny. He sells a drink called Happy Dad, a beer called Happy Dad, and he's like saying, I'm unhappy. It kind of just kills the whole brand right there. You know, there's nothing to that hedonistic life is just, you know, a Band-Aid trying to fill up your soul.
Yeah, I think he got rich pretty early too, you know, and I also think that, you know, it's tough because when you get rich early and when you're in the spotlight, I don't know that he was ready for all that. You also get a lot of leeches that are fucking hanging around you, and you know, like there's a lot of people telling you that, you know, you're the best, and then you have people telling you the worst. It's just a lot, you know. I think it's a lot for young people to deal with, and so getting famous and rich young is tough. You know, like
I mean,
I try not to be too harsh of a judge on people like him and Bieber and guys that just kind of like get it real early, because that's. Man, I would have been a fucking retard if I would have gotten all that when I was in my 20s,
Yeah, but I mean, like he's at a certain. We're the same age, and he's still kind of doing that same life and doesn't know a way out. It's like you sound free, like you have the voice of a free man who doesn't. You let go of those attachments. People can't buy and sell your integrity and your word. I think that's by far the most important thing as a man.
I'm just older, man. Like, I wasn't there when I was his age. I was a fucking shit sandwich. I was gambling and fucking banging girls and getting fucked up. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it would be fair to compare where I'm at to where somebody a lot younger than me is at, because, he can get there, I mean, he's probably figured out a lot for his age, but when I was, what are you, 27, something like that?
Yeah, about a bit.
30? Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I just got out of the military, or I just finished college. Like I don't know. I was still in my party phase, so I feel like I would never at 27 have been as composed and just. I don't know. Like you just you're very confident, very composed. When I saw you on Piers, I was like, man, like fuck. This kid's got it fucking put together. I'm impressed. Like, if I was on Piers Morgan at 27 getting that heat from that fucking shithead, that would have been tough. I certainly would not have presented as well as you, So I think you guys are way ahead of the curve. But
yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate it. I mean, at the same time, like I've been doing YouTube and streaming for a while. I wasn't in the military, so it's a little bit different to like measure that courage. A different upbringing.
Yeah, maybe so, but it's still impressive nonetheless. But yeah, man, I don't know. I like what you're doing. I didn't know that you've been with Ye for so long out there. That's cool. You're getting a little bit of a look behind the curtain. That must be interesting. I met up with him a few years back, and I hadn't figured any of this shit out at the time. So it's just, it's funny looking back because. Our conversation would have been different today.
He was probably still figuring it out too, depending on the year. We're all still learning, but even then, like something like this, there's a lot of information from what you said that I'm going to try to relate to him when I get the chance. But super hectic time out here. Like eventually, I have like so many documentaries on my hard drive that I could release from all this time out here, but it's just you gotta release it when he's ready and at the right time. And this is definitely like something that, something for the history books out here.
Yeah, it'll be a story that needs to be told, certainly. I'm sure he'll be ready for it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people kind of like wondering what's going on because he's been all over the fucking place. And I feel like he's been internally battling too with kind of like what his position is, because it's been a bit all over the place, but he seems to like kind of like find his true north,
Yeah. I mean, look, they took your company away from you. They took all my platforms. They took his kids. Like, they took away his family. Like, that's a different level. I can't even imagine. Every day I wake up like, so whenever I'm like feeling like annoyed or bitter about my situation, like they took his family. So that's, we've never, that's disgusting.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. They got a lot of power. They shadow banned me off Instagram now. Finally, they did it because of my Patrick Bet David post. But yeah, I'm actually battling my family too. They indicted my dad. They indicted Ignite. They haven't fucking come for me on any of that stuff, but they still indicted him. Yeah, it's crazy. They just can't seem to fucking ever let me win in court either. They just ruled that I wasn't allowed to use my fucking name and likeness, and that I can't earn a living, and that what was the other one? Oh yeah, I started this account called Discount Vapor in like 2015, and it was basically a vape company before Ignite, and then I changed it to Green Access, and then I changed it to Ignite. It's been my account the whole time, and according to Instagram's terms of service, like that's my account. I started it. You can't sell an account, and you can't transfer an account. But the Canadian court ruled that I have to give that to Ignite, which is kind of fucking crazy. It's like if you wrapped your car with a Red Bull fucking thing, that doesn't make the car Red Bulls. But this judge, like, he's never been on social media, so he doesn't even understand how this shit works. And he basically ruled that I have to give it back to Ignite. And the funny thing is, Instagram has been glitching, so I tried to like reset the password so I could give it to him, and Instagram's just like not sending me the password. So I'm like physically not capable of giving them this account that there's a court order for. So now they put me in contempt of court, and they're like fining me because Instagram's got a fucking glitch. And the people that I talked to Instagram, they're all like trying to fucking extort me for money. They said they'd charge me like $30,000 to unshadow ban me. If I wanted to like get my account to fucking receive my password, I had to bribe them. Like it's this whole like it's back kind of like with the verification thing, where everybody working at the company is just trying to get kickbacks, and like, it's so crazy, dude.
Like, someone just got fired. I've had so many people on the inside be like, "Yo, I can get your thing unbanned. I can get your thing unbanned." I'm like, okay, sure, if you want to. I think like 2 or 3 people have been fired for just like bringing up my name to be unbanned. Wow. It's like it's the same thing selling blue checks. You know, these underhanded deals and all these meta employees. It's definitely a weird time on social media. And everyone knows, like everyone is aware of this stuff, and they just, like everyone not talking about it is kind of in a playground of denial because they don't want to fall in the same boat. I mean, why would they?
It's funny, man. They like begged me to create a TikTok, and then I created it, and then they gave me like some kind of a crazy ban where it like wasn't for any reason, but like nobody at TikTok can even access the account to see why. So it's really strange. So I guess that probably saved me some fucking headache. I'm so over social media.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, like maybe that's like that. I don't remember the Bible quote, but you know, like whatever you give up for the sake of God, God rewards you something greater. It's like maybe I'm rewarded by not having to go on these gay social media apps and see people doing dances and shit. Like that, my mind is now protected from that. Like maybe that's the reward in and of itself.
That's a fact.
Like at the same, sometimes you get better. And you're like, well, maybe I don't need to be cluttered up with more propaganda.
Yeah, dude. I will say though, it's funny, man. When they started posting, you know, like any of the pro-Palestine, anti-Israel stuff, that's when all of a sudden TikTok had to be banned. And it's just funny, man, watching, like, I don't know, like I said, once you understand what's going on, it seems so obvious, but I guess there's still a lot of people that are just kind of, like, stuck in the matrix, not knowing what the fuck's going on.
A lot of people are more aware now than they were 3 years ago, though, so it's interesting to see where we're going to be in another 3. But we just got to, like, people like you, hopefully you could just stay strong. And, like, hopefully the people around you can understand, you know, and support someone who's speaking authentically to what they believe in. That's important because almost nobody does that.
Yeah, man. You know, I guess Kanye had to fucking walk so some people can run, I guess. You know, it's one of those things where, yeah, I mean, you just keep shifting it, and then, I mean, who was that one Lily Gladys girl that got on Piers Morgan and started, like, you know, she kind of took, like, a similar stance, but with, like, you know, I don't know, it was, like, something about saying something racist, or the girl that did that, or whatever the fuck it was, but it was just funny, because she was, like, standing 10 toes down with Piers, and I was like, shit, I haven't seen people do this shit before, but, you know, the world's changing.
I think there was someone black on saying, like, you're not allowed to say nigger, and she just kept saying it. I didn't...
I don't know if she said it, but she basically just, like, admitted to Piers that she said it, and he's like, well, how often do you say it? She's like, whenever I feel like it. He went so crazy. He was just, you could just tell, like, his brain was exploding. Like, his boomer brain was just like, this is too much to process. Like, somebody standing up, you know, just saying something fucking normal for once that wasn't just, like, you know, and then he tried to, like, condemn her and this and that. She's just like, whatever, dude, fuck you. And he's just, you know, you can tell they just don't know what to do with themselves because they're so used to, like, saying these things and then the person being ashamed and then them having to apologize. This whole, like, charade that's just not happening anymore, you know? They're just, like, they don't know how to handle it because they're so fucking old. They don't know how to adapt to, like, the new times where people are just like, fuck you. I'm going to say it and I don't care. You know, and that's powerful. But I'm going to say what I believe and I don't care. that right there is like, that's what wins this war.
Because every other conversation, it's like people are sniffing out the bullshit more than they ever have. There's no one else to listen to besides those people. What other talk show is even remotely interesting unless it's by someone who's unapologetically saying the hard R or anything you're not supposed to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think after so much indoctrination and so much like propaganda, I think people are just ready for like unfiltered truth, you know. And I think that's why Trump got elected, not because he's like so unfiltered or he's like the greatest guy or whatever, but because I think that he has the perception of not being a politician and the perception of being honest. Whether that's true or not, we'll time will tell. It certainly doesn't seem that he's been super legit so far with his support of Israel and fucking sucking Netanyahu's dick every time he gets a chance. But it looks like he's kind of pushing back. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, time will tell. But I think the reason that he got elected was because people viewed him as being unapologetically honest, and I think that's what people really are going to embrace in the years coming forward, because that's like the most rare thing.
Yeah, I mean, that election proved it. He was the guy going on Joe Rogan, going on Aiden Ross's stream, doing Theo Von, while Kamala Harris did Call Her Daddy and talk shows. Like, people want to see real conversation. They want what appears to be real, someone who they could relate to. That old traditional Piers Morgan on BBC, it's over. It's very clear that there's a major cultural shift happening right now.
Yeah, the pendulum is swinging back, and it's swinging back like usually when it swings back the other direction, it goes further than it was. So we'll see. I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for it to regulate too. Like it is swinging the other direction, but I am looking forward to some semblance of normalcy. But I don't even know when in the past like 30 years you could ever say things are like really normal culturally.
I feel like there was the perception of things being pretty normal in like 2019. I feel like things weren't very racist. I feel like things weren't very divided. I feel like we were being propagandized and we were all fucking, like unaware, but everybody wasn't at each other's throats, and then they fucking pulled the fucking COVID scam and the black square bullshit and like all this stuff. Everybody got overly sensitive. There was the cancel culture. There was this. There was that. Like, everybody's like, literally the world went crazy. And I was just kind of like sitting back like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? I'm not wearing your fucking mask. Like, fuck off. I'm not posting the black square. Like, I just wasn't caving to any of the shit. And then pretty shortly thereafter, they tried to fucking come for me. They were like, oh, Dan's fleeing the country, he's going broke, Ignite's going broke. They just like went after me in the fucking media. Shortly after, I refused to like do all their shit. And I don't think it was a coincidence, but we'll see where it all shakes out. But I'll let you get back to it, brother. But yeah, hit me up. I would like to fucking link up with you guys at some point here and just kind of have a chat with the old boy.
Yeah, that'd be great. If you could send me some times that you're free, or like whenever we could set up a combo, I'm sure I think would like to talk to you.
Sounds good. All right, brother. Well, it's good chatting with you, man. Let's keep in touch.
Hey, Dan, always great to talk to you. Hope to talk soon, man. Take it easy.
Oh, all right, brother. Later.
Bye. Shout out to Dan Bilzerian. Damn, I expected that. That was like a podcast, and I thought it was just going to be a phone call. What the fuck? And it's like, he's easy to talk to because like the last 20, 30 minutes, I was like, okay, this is going to be the last sentence. This is going to be the last one. Like, you kind of hear that. Like, oh, okay, this is going to be it. This is going to be it. Just kept on going. Never had it on stream. And that was a really good conversation.
I think we need to learn a lot about history because we don't know what is the real history was. We need to learn about those things. Those things are important.